And good morning. It is 23 minutes after 7 o'clock. And joining us in studio this morning from Bristol Law Office, Matt Bristol back with us. Good morning.
Morning, Mike. How are you doing?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Doing good. Sorry to hear about your Washington team. I know they're your faves. But you did call them the Redskins.
I did?
Yeah.
Well, till they get a name, that's what I'm calling
They
them.
still don't have a formal name yet?
Allegedly, they're going to announce January of 22.
Oh.
That's what they say.
Well, who knows?
Well, that's just it. I don't know if they know.
Speaking of Washington, D.C., tomorrow we're going to have Washington, D.C. weather.
We do.
It's going to be blowhard.
That's right. Yeah. Only thing is, I think their difference is hot wind versus ours.
Those people need adult supervision up there, I swear.
It's if it wasn't true, it'd be a comedy. I tell you, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like watching some kind of slapstick Three's Company style comedy here. So,
Oh, yeah.
I know I'm dating myself with a Three's Company reference, but
Three Stooges.
that's probably a little more apt.
Yeah. Geez. Those guys drive me crazy up there.
Absolutely. For folks that aren't familiar, Matt Bristol joins us once a month and gives sound legal advice. And we talk about, and generally speaking, it's usually advice to avoid. You know, if you do a lot of the stuff we're talking about here, it generally makes things go easier when problems arise down the road. And they're going to. That's just life, you know.
Yeah, it's just life. Cars break, washing machines break, and stuff's going to happen. And it's a lot cheaper to avoid problems than have the problems happen and try and fix them.
Yeah. What's the saying you say a lot? An ounce of prevention
It's worth a pound of cure.
A pound of cure.
Absolutely.
It's generally, although it's maybe not information you want to hear, it's information that's very true.
Just got to take care of business.
Absolutely.
It's all business. You just got to take care of business.
Absolutely. So the topic for this month, it kind of spawned just from personal events here and things like that. But I did want to kind of talk a little bit about options for folks when it comes to the end of the road here. When there's people dealing with this right now. There's people that will be dealing with this in the future.
Oh, yeah.
We all age. We all get older. We're all going to leave this earth at some point or another. And, when we talk about planning and things, there's insurance available to kind of help out with, say, when it gets time to, if your spouse need long-term care, and help to pay for the costs of that so you don't drain your finances basically trying to pay for end-of-life care for yourself or for a spouse. There's insurance in place. But if you're not, if you have pre-existing conditions, things like that, it's very hard to get those things because no insurance company is going to, because insurance companies don't want to pay out.
I haven't seen one go broke yet.
Yeah, exactly. So they put, a lot of requirements to be eligible for some of these.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that won't be able to meet these requirements. So where does that leave them? And that's where I wanted to talk about a little bit and just kind of, because you're still going to have to happen and someone's got to pay for it and you don't want it to drain your family. How do you do that?
Well, yeah, some people self-insure, but you better plan that years in advance to save up enough money for that to happen.
Most people in their 20s aren't thinking about what they're going to do for long-term care 50 years down the road.
No, they aren't.
Yeah.
But we do have Medicaid.
Yeah.
So if a spouse has to go into a nursing home for long-term care, we have Medicaid. So Medicaid is actually federal money administered by the state. And so different states have different regulations on how that is treated. So this is very state-specific stuff. Also, the regulations are many, many, many pages, so we can kind of hit the highlights today. But there are, once you get in the weeds, there's lots of weeds.
Sure.
So one of the things is if we can pick on a husband because typically husbands are older.
Yeah, we make dumber decisions and are less healthier.
There you go.
Hold my beer, check this out, wasn't invented by a woman. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, y'all, watch this.
Yeah. just facts.
So if a husband has to go into a nursing home, he can apply for Medicaid to pick up the cost. So there's an income test and there's an asset test. So if the husband has too much income, that's an easy fix. That's called an income diversion trust. But if there's an asset test, they look at all the community assets, the assets of both spouses. And in New Mexico, at least, you're only allowed about $2,000 cash.
Wow.
Not much.
So you really have to either spend or hide your money legally, of course.
Yeah. So a home is not considered an asset if there's an intent to return home. So you always check yes on that no matter what.
Sure.
There's a 5-year look back period on transfers of property. So spending your money is legal, transferring your property, not so much.
Gotcha.
So you can prepay for a funeral. You can make improvements to the house, to the car. You could pre-purchase some of the things the spouse is going to need in the nursing home. Because Medicaid only covers certain bare necessities, maybe one box of Kleenex a month, one box of diapers.
Oh, wow.
That's it. So you can pre-purchase a lot of that
So
stuff.
you don't have to ration out your tissues.
Right. So you're spending the money's okay, but the 5-year look back period on transfers of money.
Gotcha.
Transferring it to a child or friend or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, because ideally you don't want the long-term care to drain the finances so the other one who's not in long-term care can live. And that's unfortunately where people are having problems is, now all the assets are gone. Now the one that's not in nursing care or long-term care has no food, no water, no place to live because it's all got taken to pay for the other one. And that's the unfortunate truth. If people don't prepare a little bit, that's what could happen to them.
Well, and worse than that is if the husband goes in the nursing home and applies for Medicaid, he assigns over his income to the nursing home or to the Medicaid program.
Okay.
And Medicaid just picks up the cost differential. Okay. The husband's income just went out the window.
Yeah.
The wife at home no longer has husband's income. She's living on her typically lower Social Security check only. So people don't realize that money's going out the window. It's going to disappear.
Yeah.
So it's you got to think ahead on this kind of stuff and kind of plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, when you plan for retirement and all things, you're hoping, that's when you work in some of this stuff. But if you have pre-existing conditions, some of the avenues that are available to you aren't available to you on some of these. And and to be honest, it was my wife and I. We were doing some research on getting, hey, we're in our 40s now. We're thinking maybe we should get something like this in case one of us have to do some long-term care here. And we had a rude awakening with Kim's Turners. No one wants to really now we've got to see if there's some other companies looking in, and we've got some resources checking out, but it's turning into something bigger than we thought. And so if you are in that same boat, you might want to think about it earlier rather than later on this, because it might be a little trickier for you to get something in place than the average person does.
Well, especially the older you get, probably the more costly it is.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing to think
it's
about.
Kind of like buying life insurance. The older you get, the more money they want from you.
Yeah. So you might think about it in your 40s, instead of sending $500 a month to an insurance company, is just take that $500 and invest it somewhere.
Sure.
And that way, at least it's growing.
Yeah.
Oh, because you got 20, 25 years for that money to grow.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Unless you do here, hold my beer.
Yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. It's like people, you really need to think about this because, well, it just stumbled in my world, and I was like, we need to think about this. So.
Well, New Mexico, as we've mentioned before, husbands and wives can contract with each other. In fact, I looked it up the other day just for the program, and it's the law is 40-2-2. Either husband or wife may enter into any engagement or transaction with the other. So husband and wives can contract with each other.
Okay.
And so one of the contracts a husband and wife can make, that's actually here in the Medicaid code, is a post-nup, post-marriage separation agreement, separating assets and debts.
Okay.
So it separates, it needs to be done 50-50.
Sure.
And if the 5-year period is not specifically laid out that you have to do it more than 5 years before the Medicaid application, but that's probably a whole lot cleaner because then the question doesn't even come up.
Now, will that offer some protection to the spouse if there comes to a time down the road where they're going to want to drain the assets here and that'll protect some of the spouse's assets?
Yes.
Okay.
So if husband and wife do a post-nup, so these are your 50% of the assets, here's my 50% of the assets. I'm not liable for your future debts, including nursing home costs. You're not liable for my future debts, including nursing home costs.
Okay.
So if the husband goes into the nursing home and applies for Medicaid, they look at his community half of the assets, they look at his sole and separate property, and they look at the spouse's community property. But if you have a post-nup, there's no community property except maybe the house.
Gotcha.
So the husband and wife can still own the house together. That's fine because that's not an asset as long as there's an intent to return home. They can keep each other's beneficiaries on life insurance, bank accounts, retirement, whatever.
Okay.
Still
so
together.
doesn't in fact any bequeathing afterwards.
Does not at all.
Gotcha. Okay.
But when they look at, okay, well, wife, what are your community assets? Wife says, zip, all my stuff is sold separate, and it's $500,000, and you can't touch it. So that preserves her half the assets.
Gotcha. Excellent.
So that post-nup does work to protect assets.
But you got to do it ahead of time, and you try to do it too close up, they're gonna not let you pull that.
Well, it's silent on that.
Yeah.
There's I don't know that there's been any, at least court cases on it, and I don't know about administrative.
Is this like a
decisions.
loophole that really hasn't been tested yet, or is this?
It's allowed by the administrative code.
Okay.
It says and I'll give you the citation, but it's really long.
Okay.
Let's see. To rebut community property status, the applicant for the Medicaid must document the property was acquired before marriage or after divorce, designate as separate property by a judgment. So in New Mexico, that's a legal separation.
Okay.
Legal separation is a court document that separates assets and debts. It doesn't separate the couple.
Okay. Okay.
Or D, designated as separate property by a written agreement between the spouses.
Okay.
Bingo.
Interesting.
It doesn't say the 5-year thing there.
Okay.
So we don't know for sure it has to be more than 5 years. Now, 2 weeks before the application is probably a little too soon.
Yeah, you don't want to test that theory.
Correct. Yeah.
Not with your own assets anyway. You want to watch someone else do it with theirs. That's their prerogative. But you don't want to do that with yours.
Yeah. So you could do that in your 40s.
Yeah.
Sole and separate property agreement that says, your assets are yours, mine are mine. And
Sure. Now, how does that affect, paying for it and all that in the meantime? And, is that, like, for instance, like say right now, the home my wife and I, it's, it's in both of our names, and I'm probably the primary because of the veteran status and all that. But
community property is 50-50.
yeah. Well, I mean, as far as the responsibility on the loan is what I mean, not so much the
community debt's 50-50.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I guess anyway, how does that work? Does that affect any of that? So say, because I don't necessarily want her off the house. I want her on there. I want all of that. What if I die tomorrow? I don't want her to fight for the house. I want her to have the house. How does that affect any of that? Or?
A sole and separate property agreement typically says, and the parties can choose to own things jointly if they wish.
Okay.
So you can continue to own the house together.
Okay.
The next house you buy, you could own together.
But will they be able to go after it in an asset situation down the road, or is that going to be protected?
The house is not an asset as long as there's an intent for the spouse to return home from the nursing home.
Okay. Which 9 times out of 10, when it's going to long-term care, that's not the case.
Doesn't matter. You always check the box, yes.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if the doctor says we're putting her in the nursing home because she's got 6 weeks to live.
Okay.
When it comes to the question, is there intent to return home? You check
You're
yes.
the eternal optimist every time.
Always just check yes,
Okay.
no matter what. Check yes, 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 yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So at least in this state. Now, in other states, they will make you sell your home, is what I've heard.
Okay.
Now, that's pretty damn horrible.
That's rough. Yeah. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand, companies aren't in soup kitchens, but at the same time, we don't need to destroy people's lives to take care of end of life for somebody while a company keeps sucking up the assets.
Well, this is a Medicaid regulation. It's not the nursing home regulation.
Okay.
So, but I've heard in some states, you may be able to keep up to $15,000 cash instead of $2,000. New Mexico, it's $2,000. New Mexico, the house is not an asset if there's an intent to return home. In other states, I've heard they force you to sell the home. Yeah, so it just depends state by state.
So check in on that one in local states here, but
before you go retire somewhere else, you might go look
check with
into
Florida
that.
or Texas or wherever people go to retire now. Check the rules there.
Yeah, I check with that. And here, that's called the Income Support Division. Those are the people in charge, and those are the people you talk to.
I would think a state like Florida's better on because they've got. I'm guessing per capita, they're doing more retirements and these kind of things than other states just because retirees go to Florida and Arizona more than other places. You know what I mean? So,
you hear that, but that's probably mainly people from northern parts of the country where they have really bad winters.
Yeah.
Tend to go farther south. Here, our winters are just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. All I know is every time I go to Florida, there's a lot of old people blocking up highways. And that's all I know. They need more bus systems there. Yeah. But I think if you take nothing away from this conversation here, is think about it. Have a plan. Let's just don't go the world's my oyster and go off and live your life and then when these problems arise at some point, because I'm not gonna lie to you, you're gonna be dealing with this. Every single person, if it's not you yourself directly, it's a loved one that you know nearby or something, you're going to be dealing with these kinds of situations some point in your life. And it's again, be prepared.
Yeah, and we tease a lot about it. People say, "Oh, well, just take me out and let the coyotes get me." And
put me in a coffee can and bury me in the backyard, all that mess.
Yeah, we tease about it a lot, but there was a situation where husband and wife, and they had named each other on their powers of attorney. But only each other. There's no plan B.
Oh, okay.
So just each other, and that was it.
So if they've died in a plane crash or something together, there'd be nobody to do their stuff, right?
Well, what happened was his husband goes into the nursing home with dementia. But he had given his financial power of attorney to the wife, so she could still do finance, pay bills and stuff, and make the house payments, utilities, and handle, what she could. And then she was diagnosed stage 4 cancer.
Oh, no.
So now he can't give a power of attorney to anybody else before she dies because he's not competent.
Yeah.
And he's the only one that can give a power of attorney. She can't assign or transfer the power of attorney she has from him.
Wow.
So when she passed away, he's stuck. He's screwed.
That's unfortunate.
So you got to take care of those things, have alternates.
So what happens to him in that situation? Is he just beholden to whatever the government does at this point, or
good or bad? He actually passed away first.
Okay, so it didn't. But say he.
But she was trying to plan for her passing away first, and it's like, well, how do we set up an account where somebody else can help with the money? And it's like, well, that's pretty tough because the bank.
And did they have kids or anything, or? Was it just...
Don't think they had kids.
Wow.
No. But still, they didn't name anybody secondary on the power of attorney when they could have and could have avoided the whole thing.
Sure.
So now they're stuck with, well, if she had passed first and he was still in a nursing home, now you got to get guardianship over him, which is an expensive process. Mm-hmm. Okay, $5,000 to $10,000 just to handle stuff. Oh my God.
Yeah. Now you understand Thelma and Louise a little bit more, huh? After some of these.
Yeah. So there's, situations happen that you don't even realize that, oh my God, that's a horrible situation. I never thought of that happening.
Yeah. And hopefully you never have to worry about those things, but it sure would be unfortunate if it does come across and you have nothing in place to try to combat that or at least work with that. and
Yeah.
it's really that, and that's the part that hurts is these are people that have done the work their whole lives to do these things and set things up, and because of a technicality or a
Twist of fate.
as a freak occurrence, now all of that's turned into jeopardy here, and that's rough.
Yeah.
That's hard to swallow.
And there's a lot of that you can plan for. So
Sure.
they could have fixed that with powers of attorney, with
Absolutely.
alternates. But maybe they thought, well, there's time. And so then it's not always time. So
Sure.
as soon as you or your spouse, you start recognizing those there's early signs of dementia, there's early signs of Alzheimer's. So get those powers of attorney done, the will's done. So the legal competency to make a will is the lowest legal competency there is.
Okay,
It's low.
gotcha.
So if you're out of it, okay, you got dementia to where 10 o'clock in the morning you're not really there. At 10:30 you're all there. Sign the will. 10:45 you're out. Well, that's a good will.
Okay.
Because at the moment you sign the
As
will,
long as at the time you're signing it, you're in a moment of clarity.
Yep.
You're considered
You're
good
good.
to go.
You're good to go.
Very good.
Powers of attorney, same way.
Okay.
Because the law wants people to have those things in place.
Well, absolutely. You want to be able to make those decisions, and unfortunately, in those situations, you may only have minutes to get what you need out of it. So
Yeah.
you better take advantage of it.
Yeah. So all those things have early signs. So when you see the early signs, start getting the paperwork ready.
Yeah, and I know, and here's the rough part is the mental part, because let's face it, that's going to be the hardest time in probably your life. You and your family, you're physically coming to face with mortality here. You know what I mean? And some people have mentally prepared for that. Some people have not, and some people are preparing for that. But that reaction to that is very broad and varied. And even if you think you yourself are like, oh, if I get that decision, I'm there. I'll be like, all right, well, it's in God's hands. Like, okay, but until someone says it to you, to your face, and it's real, you can't really know how you're going to react to that or how you're going to. So to give yourself the best chance, no matter how bad something's going to come to you, it's this what we're talking about here. Doing a little preparation, these moments are probably the worst things that happen in people's lives. But with just a little bit of preemptive thought about this and a couple of plans to set the table in case these happen, it will make the transition so much easier, more so from your family and everybody else. That's, once you got dementia, I think most of us, like I think that way. If I got dementia, it's like, dude, just do as little for me as possible. I may not get it at the time. I get it now. Just and trust me, I understand. So, but I say that now, but it's hard to say that when you're in that situation,
Or people say, well, if I've got dementia, I won't know what's going on anyway.
Yeah.
So I won't care. Well, but there's everybody else.
Yeah.
Especially the spouse you leave behind.
Sure.
So it's one of those things where, I teach wilderness survival, and number one rule is you don't panic. Typically people panic when they're in a situation they've never experienced. So if you never think about this and all of a sudden it happens, you never experienced this, people panic and they have
irrational
fear,
decisions. Yeah.
irrational decisions, or they freeze. So if you start planning for it now, discussing it now, get the paperwork now for in the event one of us has this, now you're experiencing, now you're planning. And so in the future, when it does happen, it's like, okay, I've done this before. We've talked about this before. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to freeze.
Yeah. Hopefully you both live healthy, and then you both get hit by a bus at like 105.
There you go.
Together. And that's it. But odds are pretty good that's not how it's going to happen that way. It's going to be something else. And we can't prepare fully for everything, but you can do as much as possible to give yourself and your family the best chance to be overall prepared for whatever possibility happens, whether it's something in the natural timeline or something freak accident or occurrence. Either way, you at least have options, and that's the key.
Got to have a plan. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure enough.
Yeah. I mean, even if none of the options aren't the most ideal, because they aren't. I mean, when you're dealing with death and loss and things like that, no one wants to make those decisions. No one does. But to have options, to have the ability, well, we could go this way or we could go this way, with just a little bit of planning in the this time when I know it's not fun. I know it's not sexy. I know it's like the dentist where you're like, oh, my teeth are fine. I don't
Yeah.
need to go.
Yep.
It's that mindset.
Uh-huh.
But please trust me, having a conversation with Matt Bristol or, with your family and getting this stuff lined up, it's going to save you so much hassle, headache, and turmoil when the time comes, because it's going to come at some point. Hopefully it's not long time down the road, but when that time comes, when there's loss in the family and you're dealing with picking up the pieces, it's going to make it that much easier when that happens.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Especially the nursing home thing, because your spouse can only have $2,000 in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not care if you have dementia because you don't know what's going on, but
Sure.
the spouse you're leaving behind is now broke.
Everyone in your family are dealing with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's think about the other people for a change and make their lives easier.
Yeah. Because I've said the same joke. I'm like, hey, shoot, I get dementia. That's gonna be a great ride. I don't care, what I mean. But it's a disease of your family. It really is. You're the one suffering to it, but they're suffering from the side effects. You're just there.
Yeah.
But anyway, plan. Think about this. Have a conversation. Talk with your family. Get these wills taken care of. Start having a plan on what happens if. And then let's get those things happening and get that ball rolling. You're going to be so happy down the road.
Like you said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's so much cheaper to plan ahead and prevent things from going wrong.
Sure. I mean, you see a lot on TV nowadays for funeral planning, where you can actually plan your own funeral and put down the deposit. That's a great idea, because most people fight. Well, who are they like? This is that, but 10 times better. And it might save the fight at the funeral, what they're doing, but this is saving the fight in the courtroom and the fight for your house and the fight for. So I mean, if you look at that and you're thinking that's a great idea, plan. This is a great idea too, but 10 times bigger impact if you don't do it. So if you look at that stuff, it's like we should do that. Well, before you plan your funeral, let's plan what happens before the funeral. And where your money goes and who gets it and what happens to it. So.
Yeah, because at least with the funeral, maybe there's some life insurance for your spouse you're leaving behind, but
Sure.
at a nursing home, you're leaving your spouse broke.
Exactly, you are. You're and you hear horror stories of people in their 70s and 80s, couples getting divorced to protect assets and things like that, and that'd be awful to have to go through that.
Yeah, and I've had that phone call.
Yeah.
Hi, my spouse is going to need to go into the nursing home, and we heard that we need to divorce. And I said, no, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So let's do the post-up, and we'll do it that way. But plan early, just so it's the more advanced you do it, the less likely it's going to be questioned or contested.
True, and be warned that if you have pre-existing conditions, and I'm talking things like even diabetes, things like these are going to be. I'm not saying they disclude you outright, but they're going to want to dig a little deeper and do a little. And there's certain conditions like my wife has one of these conditions. I mean, she's fine, she's not, but it's one of these conditions that insurance companies are like, we are not touching that for a long.
Can't get the long-term coverage, right?
So you need to have another plan, and if that was your plan A and plan only, you might. That's what don't find this out in your 40s or when you're younger and healthier than when you're in your 70s and might actually need to have this kind of stuff happening. So just saying.
Well, there you go. She needs to buy stock in the company that turned her down because they're never going to go broke.
Yeah, buy them out. And then pray for dementia so she can use it.
We're so bad.
Oh, man. Of course, if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, or if you're having some own legal and law issues when it comes to family law, any of that stuff, Matt Bristol and Bristol office can help you take care of those issues. Go to bristollawoffice.com. You can read up on Matt and everything. You can also schedule an appointment for a consultation there as well. Give out your phone number, too, if they want to call it or have a question or something, or like schedule an appointment that way.
The phone number is 625-5284. BristolLawOffice.com, and we're doing in-person or over-the-phone appointments, whatever people prefer.
Okay.
Especially some out-of-town people, it's easier for them to do by phone.
Sure, absolutely.
And then we have some people who are homebound.
Especially gas prices right now. Thanks, Joe Biden.
Yeah, thank you, Joe Biden. Hey, it was all great just a few months ago.
Hey, I know. Let's close down our pipeline and beg the Arabs to make more gas. Yeah, that's a good idea.
At least we're producing our own natural gas.
Yeah, exactly. But another story for another day. But definitely check it out. Let Matt Bristol. And if you don't want to go to somebody, please don't let this stuff linger, fester. It's going to hurt you down the road. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Yeah, folks, listeners, if you already know somebody who knows this stuff, then call them, call somebody.
But if you don't, Matt Bristol will help you out with everything, every stretch of it, and get you on the right path.
Be glad to.
Excellent. Well, thanks, sir.
So we have time for
let's do one. I forgot. Thank you. Let's do that.
We have some time. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the Greek tradition, the Greeks did not believe in human sacrifice. That was a big no-no.
Okay.
Now the Romans believed in human sacrifice. Just look at what they did in the Colosseum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Proof's in the pudding there.
There you go. But for the Greeks, that was a huge no-no.
Okay. They were a little more respectful of life or cherishing of life.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So the story is that there was this king. His name was Tantalus, and he got weirded out one day, and so he got the idea of having a banquet, and he was going to serve human flesh, but just not tell the guests.
Oh,
yeah, big taboo.
Yeah,
really bad. And so the gods got wind of this, and they said, he can't be that crazy. Nobody does that. Surely he's not that much of a goofball. So one of the gods disguised themselves as a guest and went to the banquet. And everybody's, having their appetizers and wine and stuff, and it's getting closer to the meal and closer to the meal, and Tantalus still hasn't backed out yet. And so here comes the banquet, and the meat's laid out on the table, and God's waiting for Tantalus to back out any minute, and he doesn't. And this guest is about to take a bite, and finally the god throws off his disguise, and he says, BS. And he says, this is wrong. This is bad.
That's people. Don't eat that.
Yeah, don't eat that meat. And so he curses King Tantalus.
Okay.
And so the curse is he's in a lake, and he's up to his neck in water. But every time he bends down to drink, the water recedes. So he's always thirsty, can never drink.
Okay.
And on the shore of the lake, there's this big tree with this gorgeous looking fruit. It's always ripe. It's always in season. But when he tries to pick the fruit, the branches lift up.
Okay.
And so the food's always out of his reach. So he can never eat. He can never drink. And so if you want something so bad, it was just beyond his reach.
Uh-huh.
And if something's just beyond your reach and you want it so bad, it is said to...
I would say beyond your reach. What's the term?
Tantalize.
Okay. Now,
From King Tantalus.
Tantalus. All right, so that's where tantalizing comes
That's
from.
where tantalize comes from.
Tantalizing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just beyond your reach when it's so bad.
Interesting. The other lesson there is ask for a friend to help you. But anyway, together we can get you some fruit. Matt, as always, appreciate it.
Enjoyed it, Mike.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, and good luck to your Washington team.
Yeah, we got some losses coming up soon. We'll get right on those. All right, it is